If you feel like your doctor is letting you down, if you feel like your friends and family just don't understand what you're going through when it comes to chronic fatigue syndrome, or you feel like you've tried everything and nothing has worked, this video is for you. Here are 3 harsh truths about chronic fatigue syndrome and what to do instead to help you with your recovery. Number 1, your doctor can't fix you. You see, when we are brought up and when we were born, we were told to believe that when we got sick, we would go to the doctors. Now, the doctor would prescribe us medicine and we would take that medicine and we would miraculously get better from the illness. Unfortunately, it doesn't work like that with chronic fatigue syndrome. And this can be super disheartening if you aren't aware of how recovery works when it comes to chronic fatigue syndrome. You see, if you keep going from doctor to doctor and going from blood test to blood test and hoping that your doctor will cure you of your chronic fatigue syndrome, you're going to end up feeling fed up, you're going to end up feeling disappointed and potentially even frustrated. I remember when I had chronic fatigue syndrome, and before I kind of knew what was wrong with me, I thought everything was wrong with me. You know, we went from doctor to doctor, we literally had hundreds of blood tests, and when I say we, myself went with my family to help support me. And it was a very frustrating 2 years, and it was like literally just getting no answers and almost feeling more doubtful and having less hope every time I walked out of the doctor's clinic. And I remember one day I was just so fed up. I remember coming home and grabbing my basketball shoe that I hadn't worn in 2 years because I'd been so ill. And I remember throwing it so hard against the bedroom wall and putting a hole and dent in my bedroom wall. And I remember just falling to the ground, just crying profusely, just with so much hurt and upset and frustration with the medical world. I was just like so confused and so overwhelmed. And so, the number one harshest truth is your doctor can't fix you from chronic fatigue syndrome. And the sooner you stop looking and searching for that special person to fix you, the sooner recovery can start to happen, which you'll learn in harsh truth number 3. Of course, it's important to keep in mind that your doctor can support you through your healing journey and your recovery, but expecting your doctor to fix you or to have all the practical recovery answers is ludicrous. Your doctor doesn't have the time to, tell you practically what to do. And so at best, your doctor might say something like, eat better, sleep better, move better, and all those things. But it's extremely hard to do that, as you know, when you're on your own, not knowing the capacity that you're at and making it suitable and flexible for where you're at and what you can handle so you can start to move forwards with your recovery. And so, again, expecting your doctor to fix you or to give you all the answers is not the way forward to recover from chronic fatigue syndrome. They can be helpful for sure. Particularly, there's some amazing doctors around the world who are very supportive of chronic fatigue syndrome and recovery. However, the majority aren't well educated on the practical steps needed to recover from chronic fatigue syndrome. Harsh truth number 2, your friends and your family will not understand what you're going through. This is one of the hardest parts when it comes to chronic fatigue syndrome, is to get your loved ones to understand what you're going through. And it can feel like Groundhog Day, over-explaining yourself, over-explaining where you're at, over-explaining how bad you're feeling, which makes you feel bad on top of already feeling bad. And so, the harshest truth, but it's also quite freeing to know, is that your friends and family will never truly understand what you're going through. And that's actually a freeing realization, because when you finally let go of the idea that they must understand you and they need to understand what you're going through, you can actually fast track your recovery. We see so many people previously, before they got better, focusing all their energy trying to convince their loved ones and tell their loved ones how bad they are and what they need, in the sense of, they need the other person to understand. But unless you've walked in their shoes and they've experienced chronic fatigue syndrome firsthand, how can you expect someone to understand that? And I'm sure you would get that too. Like, imagine if you never had chronic fatigue syndrome, you would have no idea what it's like. And what it's like is absolutely horrible. And it's one of the hardest things you'll probably ever go through in your life. But it's also important to keep in mind that your friends and family will never fully understand, and that is okay. There are things you can do to bring them on board and to help them support you best. We have a whole training and workshop inside our mentorship called the Loved Ones Workshop, where we give all of our loved ones and carers a specific framework and support system based off the recovery stage that you are in. And so, yes, it's important to get your family and friends on the same page and for them to have awareness, but for them to fully understand what you're experiencing and feeling is never going to happen. And the sooner you can stop that, the sooner you can fast track and focus on your progress and your recovery. Harsh truth number 3. Recovery is a process. It is not an overnight cure. It is not an overnight quick fix. And if you can start to see recovery as a rehabilitation process, you can imagine a broken arm or a torn ligament in the ankles or the knees. There's a rehabilitation process that happens in order for that body part to heal. Now, with chronic fatigue syndrome, the rehabilitation process is quite similar. And when we can look at the fact that we're rehabilitating our brains and our bodies to get healthy and start living again, we can change the approach in how we move forward with our recovery. What I mean by that is, 90% of the people that we work with, before they start working on their recovery practically and properly, they're literally grasping and trying so many damn different things. They don't even know what they're trying anymore. It's like they're so overwhelmed with trying, the supplements that their friend recommended. And then Uncle Bill said, you should try this sleep supplement. Someone said it cured chronic fatigue syndrome. And then you should try acupuncture because that cured this person that I met on the train last week. And all of a sudden, you're doing a different bunch of modalities that can be useful, but aren't the true answer to rehabilitate your brain and your body back to good health. And so when we zoom out and we realize that recovery is a process, it's not an overnight cure, we can start to see that we need to do certain things at certain times in order to get certain results. And when we have a holistic, comprehensive approach to you as an individual and you as an overall health and well-being aspect, we can start to really move forwards with your health and well-being. But we can't do that if you're still thinking that you're going to find the next quick fix overnight cure. And the sooner you stop fast tracking your recovery and trying to hack your way through to health, the opposite approach is needed. We need to have a calm, relaxed approach to recovery. We need to have a process to follow in order to rehabilitate the brain and the body. And what I mean by brain and body is bringing your brain function back online appropriately for where your capacity is at, with your cognitive output and your emotional output, but also looking at your physical reconditioning your body appropriately for where you're at so you can have more strength and stamina without overdoing it or feeling worse, so you can be able to do more without feeling any worse than you currently do. And when you do that and you do that consistently, what happens is the brain and the body adapts appropriately to the stimulus that you're giving it, therefore making progress, therefore having more physical and mental and emotional capacity, therefore being able to do more of life. And so this is what we help people with every single day from literally over thousands of people in 66 countries. We've been doing this work for over 16 years now. And this is what we see get the best results. It's not the supplements. It's not the acupuncture. It's not random one-off brain retraining techniques. It's having a holistic approach based off where you are at in your stage of recovery, and then having a progress plan that you can stick to and follow over months and months and months and months and months, not nights and nights and nights and weeks and weeks and weeks. And you have to remember that health is a forever thing. So as you get healthy, you don't need to focus on recovery. You just need to focus on health. And our goal for everyone inside our mentorship flagship program and the wider community is to ultimately get healthy and start living again. And the key aim goal for you, the top of the mountain, is to really eventually not have to focus on recovery. When you start to focus on life because you're getting better, it's a real sure tail sign that you're starting to move forwards with your recovery and getting the results that you want. So of course, recovery doesn't happen overnight. If you can start to see recovery as a process and a pathway versus a technique, I think it's going to serve you really, really well. In fact, I feel really sorry for you if you've been told the fact that, you just need to do this one technique or take this one certain pill or think this one certain way and you're not getting results. It's because you don't have a comprehensive plan and you don't have an appropriate progress plan in the sense of rehabilitating your brain and body to function appropriately as a healthy individual. This is all possible, like I said before, You have to do the right things at the right time to get the right results. And of course, we have seen people who have been sick for 30, 40 years, who have been on a bunch of different pain medication and all types of medication to fully getting back into health and life again. We've had people who have been in their 60s and 70s who were told they will never get better. And of course, we help kids as young as 8, all the way through from teens to early 20s, people in their 30s, 40s, 50s, mothers and fathers. And lastly, I want to mention chronic fatigue syndrome doesn't affect lazy people. And that's bonus number 4. The harshest truth really is that chronic fatigue syndrome isn't a lazy syndrome, whereas the outside world, the society at large believe, if they don't have it, they just believe that chronic fatigue syndrome is just made up. They think that it's all in your head. They think that you're a hypochondriac and that you're just over complaining. But the truth is, chronic fatigue syndrome is real. What you're going through is real. You are not making this up. And so please take light and hope with that to know that you're not going crazy. What you're going through is real. And then there is a possibility and there is hope that you can get better, but you must change your approach into this recovery process and start to see it as a recovery rehabilitation rather than trying to find an answer outside of yourself that will keep you tripping up and going around in circles until you finally take recovery by the horns and you really apply yourself in all the different aspects of health that are going to help you function healthily and appropriately so you can start to live again. If this video is helpful, leave a like and please leave a comment. I'd love to know in the chat, what was the most insightful takeaway for you from this video? I'm going to read every single one of them, so leave it below. I'd love to know. And of course, if you haven't subscribed yet, hit subscribe. We've got more great videos coming your way. Bye for now.